This is Mutabaruka. We want to present to you a wholesome kind of level of consciousness right now. So, subscribe and tell your friend them. This is Mutabaruka.
What you do, man?
Renato Adams, man. What you do, Papa?
Why me hear you, man? 6 months?
No, liar. Them a misinterpretation.
That lie, man, tell by you.
Yeah, man. A mistake they make. I wouldn't put it as harsh as that.
All right, explain why they said why they misinterpreted.
After, if I were selected the Commissioner of Police, and after having done my reorganization of the force, the hierarchy, the middle management, put the right people in the right place, get rid of those who are to be gotten rid of, as well as putting the strategies in place, getting the resources to the proper staffing and transfer and placement. Then after about 6 months after we have implemented, after about 6 months it's supposed to be seeing some drastic, appreciative results.
So
that is what I mean. You know, I couldn't know, but you know, no muta 50 years it take to reach us. So me, and even God will operate out every day. I don't want to be disrespectful.
Yes.
Has not tried to deal with this thing in 6 months. How could I have done that?
Yeah. All right. So let me ask you now. This petition that is going around about Renato for commissioner, you really think, say, even if the people them say it, you really believe, say, those who not like you for a long time, who have power and authority in Jamaica, are going to wreck you be the commissioner?
Well, no, them is the problem, you know. They are the problem. But I think this time the people's power is supernatural and superior to them. And this time I just believe that the people's power will influence those people who have the final say in this issue. Because what they're going to do, they can't come back with the same thing, then trying the same thing over and over. You're going to get the same results.
Yes. All right, let me ask you now. I'm going to ask you when I ask at the other commissioner them now. What is the... All right, you remember some of the interview we have before when name Carl Williams did resign?
Yeah.
I did do an interview with you. All right, we'll come back now because the next one resign again. What is the major problem? Why the police and the Ministry of Security can't get this thing together?
Inaction. One word. Inaction. Fear. Commissioner of Police afraid to act. Sometimes to the extent also that the minister afraid to act. But I don't business with the minister. I business with the Commissioner of Police, the force in which I serve. Some of them, they are timid, weak. Some of them don't know how to manage the job either. Some of them don't have the requisite skill. Some of them were appointed based on other consideration other than the job at hand to be done. So me know you, Muta. As a man, you are a broadcaster, you're an announcer, you're a DJ, you're a journalist, you're everything. Now if you want a journalist, now you must come look for me, can't go look for one man who a paddle kuno. No, so that is the way it goes, you know.
And that me say
so you put the right person in the right
place. Yes. And that me say about the road them I use Gardner to fix the road them.
Thank you.
You know, so
thank you.
It's a problem.
That is it.
Let me ask you a question. The last time you was on the program, you talk about personally in a Montego Bay, where you have high-ranking police and politicians were involved.
And businessmen and
store
owners.
You still are hold fast to that reasoning?
Still holding fast to that. And as I said, you may have read my article where I said the first thing I'm going to do a massive transfer, reversion, demotion, placement, setting the people right, moving out the corrupt people and put some clean people there, and then we start to do the job, my dear sir.
So you feel that is the main problem, you know, where that is the issue confronting the police force? You feel that the corruption of the police force still maintain itself, that is why it in the progress from make in the fight against crime?
And sir, when I was at the CMU, I think I told you this already, I went down there and recommended to the commissioner that the large percentage of corruption I saw where the policemen in Montego Bay and women were involved, and recommended transfer, my dear sir, and replacement, and have some of them investigated and charged. Nothing had happened with the exception a few transfers they make. And Mr. Baruka, in less than 2-3 months, politicians, corrupt means and practices were used to transfer back the same criminal them a Montego Bay, the same corrupt policemen them a Montego Bay. And that is what has led to the downfall. That is a part of what has led to the downfall of Montego Bay. You are there, sir?
Yeah. All right. I remember one time...
Yeah, you are there?
Yeah, man, me there, man.
So you hear what me say?
Yeah, man, me hear what you say.
All right, good, sir.
Yeah, all right. I remember one time, you see, Mr. Siaga did give the police 20 panelists, 20 people who think was the problem.
I did 13.
Yeah, 13 was problem.
I know a mistake you make, 13.
All right, 13. May I ask you now, you ever set up a list and carry it to the Ministry of Security to say these police is corrupt police, we need to investigate them and weed them out?
Yes, what I have done, I couldn't bring it to the minister because I wasn't the commissioner. It's only the commissioner can bring certain things to the minister.
Okay.
But it was brought to the attention of the hierarchy. And as I repeat, they were transferred, a few of them, not plenty. Maybe those who they didn't like. And they transferred them, and before daylight, speaking figuratively, all of them were transferred back to Montego Bay to continue the corruption in the days. I went down there.
Yeah.
And I asked all the warrants, all the summonses for all the wanted people, and Mr. Mabaruka, and not castigating anybody. I'm only talking the truth. I never get one. I had to do my own intelligence and research down there to know who the criminals were. I never get one from one policeman down there.
Yeah? So you think, all right, can you say now that them policemen there still there?
No, man, some transfer, but guess what happened? The danger now is because of that kind of situation that was in existence. So the young policeman come, then broke him into that.
Okay.
Many of them go down there to do a good job, you know.
Yes.
But when they go down, the forces against them, so then just turn into it too.
Yeah.
I have a few policemen who were transferred from the same young go down there, clean man them,
yes,
good man them, and many of them have been arrested and charged now because when they go down there, they were forced and motivated to join the slackness that was going on down there.
All right. The Commissioner of Police has just resigned. We don't know why, but there's speculations going around. And like how you're not into the hierarchy of anything, can you tell me truthfully what you think why this commissioner resigned?
I think it's the pressure of the job. I try to talk the truth. Sometimes you never make mistake.
Yeah.
I try to do analysis, the research, and come to the conclusion.
Yeah.
It would seem to me that the minister is also under pressure. And the people are pressuring him to have the crime situation put under control.
Yeah.
And it would seem to me that the commissioner of police does not have the appetite or the will or the courage to fight the crime. And the minister kind of feels upset about that. And I'm told that the minister direct that certain things be done as it relates to operation. And he may not have liked it. And strong words were passed to him, to which probably has taken exception and decided to retire, my dear sir.
All right.
And one of the things too, if you are the commissioner or leader in the organization, not the police force alone, and if you fail to act and to govern and to manage that organization, a great writer from the KGB, I don't remember his name, I read the book. So if you have power and you don't use it, it will be used against you.
Yes.
So when I hear the people talking, I not defend the minister because them always, I have had bad experience as it relates to politics. But it would seem to me that it's non-performance that has led to this kind of situation that we have,
All right. So we know say it's a good idea. I know say the majority of people in the ghetto, majority of people who out there would have said, well, I bring back Renato. But as I said before, the people them who can make the difference don't feel that way because them feel say you're heavy-handed. Them feel say you're a heavy-handed person, and if you go bring back this heavy-handed man in the situation you now, would that lead to more and more problem? How you see that?
Well, I don't know how they are thinking, You see, because they are safe in them, whether uptown or downtown house. Because they can employ 1,000 security guard to carry them people, or JC, them pick me, got JC and KC. And when they come in home, them fly in a helicopter and pitch on them house top and all them things. They will run up their mouth and say these things.
Yeah.
Right? But the whole the poor little Jamaican people, we don't have no defense. We have to defend them.
Yeah.
I have to defend them. I have to be defending them when I was a policeman, and if I'm again appointed as the commissioner of the police. My first interest is to defend everybody. But the weak and vulnerable and the poor, I will have to focus my attention on them because I have some little criminal elements, some little wicked boy walking around with guns because them scam money and extort money and buy guns and shoot down innocent, weak people. I'm going to have to be their defense along with the extended police force. I'm not saying me alone can do it, but when I talk, I'm talking about I'm talking on leadership.
Yes, yes.
So it's not I alone going to do it. So anybody listening on field says Renato Adams alone.
Yeah.
No, sir. I will be putting the proper person in the right place who we know will go there and work. And as I told you, right, I challenge you if you appoint me commissioner of police, I will be the first at last to be leading operations personally, physically, and practically.
In the front.
Against criminal elements.
In the front. Front line.
So I'm not going to say, you go down there and come back. I'm going to say, let's go. And when I say, let's go, guess where me there?
I
just put it in the front.
Yes. Yeah, lead by example.
That's what leadership is about. Some people, you see, every policing and soldiering are not easy things.
Yeah.
How these things come about is when you have undesirables and people who try to mash up society. These people were made and introduced. This organization was made and introduced to repel them.
Yes, yes.
So the action they're going to use is not the action of the church. You're not going to go take a fling Bible after man. That can stop man from committing crime. I'm not saying if you use it spiritually, no, I'm not saying that.
Yeah.
In other words,
practically.
Thank you.
Physically,
so,
yes.
You have to confront them and physically and make them know you know mean business.
Yes.
So why we have reached this stage is because I want to tell you, sir, and this is my view, that there is not one law in Jamaica now that is serving as a deterrent to criminal elements out there.
Mm-hmm. So
personally, too, I'm not talking the police force alone.
Yes.
All the persons who are being paid handsomely to deal with criminality in Jamaica and to have an ordered society.
Yes.
They are afraid and many are not doing their jobs.
Yes.
And that is why we have reached this stage.
All right. We see them have a so-so thing, which two of them still in effect. And then we say in the same parish, them bring a state of emergency. All right. Tell me what you think about the two.
I'm just saying, I'm not laughing at it. I'm just saying how you interpret that now.
No, you tell me what you think about the two things them.
As it relates to security, and I always think I am reliable to some extent when it comes to security. I can hardly figure that out, sir. It looks like it's certain type of politics that has come up, and whether the government or the minister or whoever it is under some, whether it's internal or external pressure, sir, them introduce this to appease the psychology and the thinking and the mind of certain other people.
Which one of them, the so-so or the state of emergency?
Well, the so-so as you call it, I don't ever say you say I don't. I'm not. My
mouth can't pronounce it.
All I am saying, sir, you could have bring in so-so and you bring in this. I must, while I talk to you, commend the army. Yes. Because the intelligence that I'm getting out there is the army is leading the battle down there against criminal elements.
Yes.
And they are achieving. To the extent that me just some policemen are up in arms and vexed about the leadership that is being provided down there by the military.
We hear about that.
But the wrong thing them do, you can't use them the same people down there. I'm not saying everybody down there is corrupt, you know.
Mm-hmm.
But how the place reached that degree to which it has reached. And you use the same man, them will allow you to reach that. Sit down there and perform police duty the same way.
Mm-hmm.
You must have them transfer and move out and bring in new people.
Yeah. All right. So,
you see?
All right. So the state of emergency, them extended till May, them say?
Sir, state of emergency was not necessary in Montego Bay. If we had effective police action, effective and efficient police action. Day in, day out, day and night, 24 hours a day, bombarding the criminal elements, seeking them out, searching them, arresting them, prosecuting them, detaining them, processing them to see if they wanted here or abroad. Bombard them with police activity day and night. We would not have reached this stage, boss.
Yeah, it come like as we do something, it get lapse, and then it come back to where it was.
And then the man then just wait it out.
Yeah. Which now, some of them go to sit down in some hotel and maybe and wait it out.
Thank you, sir.
You know, because the man they can afford to sit down in a hotel a month.
You must have certain intelligence where who these men are, where they are likely to go. You have to find who are their associates and girlfriends, where they eat, where they sleep at night, where them go and make love to whoever they make love to go. These are three critical elements that are in the annals of what you call criminology.
Yes.
Criminology teaches you that a man must go sleep, he must go eat, and he must go have sex.
Yes.
So it's the duty of a policeman to garner all these intelligence.
Which part him do them treating there?
And they don't catch him.
But, all right, so you say you don't have no open at the state of emergency if you stem it to a fullness or just a stop leak?
No, and I'm saying I don't have any hope in all. That's why I come in this soldier said they're doing a good job.
Okay, the soldier.
And all that stuff. I'm only saying we never had to call a state of emergency. Never reached that stage. Yeah. If the policemen and soldier and people responsible for fighting crime down there, the mayor, the town clerk, everybody, we wouldn't have to reach this stage.
Yeah. A lot of people is saying
you
that.
Follow me?
You talk about the pressure. A lot of people is saying that the state of emergency was called because a gun shooting did go on near the airport.
I have that intelligence, so only that I don't have the evidence.
Proof, yes.
But the intelligence
suggests that.
That because the gunman them go fire gun and nearly crash in a one tourist bus.
Yes.
That is on the street. I don't want to advocate that because as I told you, I don't have the evidence. If I had the evidence, I'd say the right up front say that was the case.
Yeah, but a whole heap of people surmise that. A whole heap of people, if I don't saw it go on something nearly saw it go, because I mean really and truly, the tourism business is one of the most, you know.
Yes, I know. I'm not saying it's not so, you know.
Yeah, I know.
It could well be so because you're Jamaican people, them say we're Jamaican people say if I know so near so.
Yeah, near so,
but you see, me now as a professional who is seeking
you have to have hardcore evidence
and responsible office.
Yeah.
I have to have evidence.
First. Yes.
I have my own feeling, you know.
Yes. Yeah, I'm feeling that too, even though I have no evidence.
So if that is the case, it would be very, very disingenuous on the part of the people who played a role in calling the state of emergency. If it is that issue it was called that when 300 odd people, it's because it looked funny, you know, 300 odd people were killed before and they were never called it.
Yes.
And then it just suddenly called. I'm not saying maybe maybe they're late in calling it.
Yeah.
But I don't want to really offer anything when we don't have the evidence.
All right, so let me ask you now, look way forward, what do you think should have happened now? I mean, we have a state of emergency, we have a source of thing going on, but what do you think should have happened now?
As I said, sir, what should happen now? Know that they must be catching some of the criminals, them. They must have an effective and firm justice system in place where these men can be tried rapidly.
Yes.
Sentenced rapidly if they are found guilty. Strong sentences are meted out to them and strong examples are set. Right? You are to saturate the place with police presence. Every corner. I don't know if they have the resources, but if you manage your resources good, you can look like 100 policemen out there when I only 25.
Yes.
Because on the roads, some of them go down and stand up on the street side for the whole day.
Yes.
Go up and down, check the suspects. That is what the law says us our policeman duty is to patrol the street by day and by night, seeking out criminal elements and suspects, arresting them and prosecuting them, and take them before a court of law for justice to be meted out to them, and if they're found guilty, you send them to prison, or you go and put them on probation, or whatever the sentence is.
Yeah.
That is how you order society.
Yeah.
That is how you fight crime. A man killed 3 men today. Nobody can find him. Him kill 4 tomorrow night. Nobody don't find him. Him kill another one another night. Nobody don't know who is this man. How can that be?
Yeah. Somebody must
get the intelligence now and bombard, don't make that man commit no more offense.
And the man, them not hide again. I don't like first time when man used to hide.
Thank you. In my time, them have to hide in the boss. You remember me have to go on the old house, but I'm going to draw them out. Because them are hide from me who no gone to England, gone to America, gone to Cuba, gone all over the place. These men are not hiding, so then easily caught. So why we can't catch them?
Yes. Anyway,
but I believe says the police alone down there, as I told you before, corrupting about the business and everybody, you know.
Yeah, man.
But the business, the hotel, the financial institution, them down there, all kind of things down there involved.
The gun and the man them is right in front of the police and the soldier them are hide.
I mean, let me tell you, as an ex-policeman the other day, I was so embarrassed. Right in the middle of so-so. Right in the middle of a state of emergency. Man could have been a funeral, go shoot man, and get to and gone.
Yes. Serious thing. That's serious thing.
So something is wrong, and I think all it has to do with our big problem down there. And anybody else, whether them a police, soldier or what, is the lack of intelligence down there.
Yes.
The intelligence to work off.
Mr. Adams, I want you to tell me which part you can find a petition and if anybody want to deal with it.
I don't know, because let me tell you something. You know me stay. Me don't want nobody to feel me and motivate anything. If the people call for me, it must be on their own voluntary.
So how years a petition did there? Who put it there?
Man, I hear what he did, but what I'm trying to tell you, you never know the address. Me now I'm going to tell you because
okay.
You don't want nobody to feel me and motivate people to vote for him. People must vote voluntarily that it is a respectful reason. That comes up. So people are calling and having a petition. I hear that one starting in England and locally about 3 going. And I have nothing to do with them. As a matter of fact, a pure friend called me from time to time and asked me, Mr. Adams, you don't see this. The people want you right now. Later on, I'll be talking to about 3 radio stations abroad. Where say the people over there, Jamaican people, say they want to come back home. And them want Mr. Adams, the commissioner, them assistant on that me.
Yeah, me know, man. Me hear it, you know. Me hear it, man.
Yes.
Me dey on the radio, you know. I hear the voice there.
Me know, but people not talk internationally.
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
And you're a communicator. You deal with the news. You deal with radio.
Yes.
You must have been hearing this. Me don't business with none of the people. The only reason why I'm applying this Mutabaruka, let me tell you, is that people are calling on me. And I think I have some solution.
Okay.
And I won't let them down. And I don't know if you're going to close now, but I must tell you that if I were appointed commissioner of police, there are many days my office won't see me boss. We're on the street, I go look for criminal elements. I will be directing senior people at the force, the hierarchy, middle managers, to be on the street too. Because I am cautioning now, you can imagine me a police Hanover. A supervise operation and the soup gone home my yard. But let me tell you plain, whoever that soup is will be taken to the Services Commission for dismissal. That is what leadership is about.
Yes. You lead from in front.
Weak leadership is one of the problem in the force. Weak leadership. Me not say the man is no good man, you know, sir. As you hear me describe them, some of them only good for the church and they go seek and win soul for heaven.
But you want some for win it for the earth, you know.
Definitely, sir.
All right, sir. Give thanks, Mr. Adams.
God bless you, sir. And anytime you're ready, you call me.
All right, sir. Give thanks.
God bless, sir.
Yes.
The informative information presented in this video is motivational and is positively aimed at inspiring, educating and entertaining the viewers with the cutting edge of critical reasoning. If you enjoy the contents on the Black Radar YouTube channel, please consider subscribing to show your support.
This is Mutabaruka. We want to present to you a wholesome kind of level of consciousness right now. So, subscribe and tell your friend them. This is Mutabaruka.
On the line here, Keith Gardner. For those of you who don't know who Keith Gardner is, I will tell you, he was the Assistant Commissioner of Police, retired now, Attorney of Law, Director of Security for the University of the West Indies. Good afternoon, sir.
Good afternoon, Stephen Razor.
you know me by your right name.
You were from there, you were on the same side of North Street as I was, just Blake Road and Tex Lane, and I'm up on you.
You're serious? You're serious?
But of course.
All right, go on, tell the people them say, a whole time Trinity this, you know. Police that was feared by criminals all over Jamaica.
Yes, indeed.
All right. Me could get into it now. Past Assistant Commissioner, you see where I go on now. Is there the difference between when you was Police Commissioner and now? I mean, in terms of criminal activities?
From time to time, Muta. We used to have crime waves, right? In the earlier days, when you were going to school, you hear about a crime wave, crime escalate, and then there are measures, maybe stopgap measures, and it decreases, and so on. Now, you don't have crime waves anymore. You have a constant flow of crime across Jamaica, and the nature of it is of such that it diminishes even the toughest of persons, right? Attacks against young girls and the misogyny against women and sheer brutality, with which the murders are committed, beheading and that sort of thing. Yeah. So the cries of the people are out there, and it is going up to the Father, and it is time for something positive to be done now to ameliorate all of this.
All right. As we say, as a past Assistant Commissioner, I have to make people know that, and you know that. Yes. Trinity was a feared policeman all over Jamaica. When criminal hear the name Trinity, is like, yeah, all right, no, we're not going to make him come in over here, we have to start on Christian. So, if in a year time, the criminal, they fear the Assistant Commissioner, so it would appear to me that it's either that different breed of people, or is that there's no one there that command that fear when them hear a commissioner name or assistant commissioner. There's no one there that command that, respect and fear in the hearts of the people. Why is that?
Let me tell you something. First of all, in the 60s, and don't forget that in 1976 alone, twice as many policemen were killed than was the case last year. 13 policemen were killed. I was shot and seriously during that year. Yes. But the kind of criminals that you had at that time, Muta, you would have recalled Dennis Bart, Copper, Morrison, and them guys who had escaped from death row, right? And were really wreaking havoc. I've often said that Copper's mantra was that, the only people in uniform that him like was doctors and nurses, right? No, honestly. But those were callous guys. But callousness wasn't the order of the day. I remember in those days I could line up 25 men, each holding out the other in the waist. And it was a state of emergency, right? Remember now. So we have special powers. And take them to station, process them. Those who were innocent, we let them go. And the hard heads, we will take in. I remember one of the times, we had a group of men along Olympic Way. And one man was at the head of the 25. And he said, listen, I don't know about but I will make a dash for it. As soon as we reach the corner, my old drive. Yeah. And the man holding him said, well, listen, you can't stay there. Hold on, because it's a Trinity bullet them take corner. So that was the legend.
It's like a missile. It's like your bullet is like a missile.
Yeah, so people really, and I never really had to use deadly force at the time because the reputation assisted.
Yes,
so people hearing about this now, not going to take any chance. They're kind of different here now, whereby the people are younger, right? They weren't exposed to any nurturing, and they start off from the younger days. I don't know, Muta, to what extent they have been in the inner city, especially around Trenchtown and Rima, Wilton Gardens, and them places where you see the little girls carrying baby. If one of them from 12 come up, 2-3 children behind them and thing, and them don't know where them baby father is. The baby father themselves are 15, 16-year-old, and the only thing they know is about the gun and violence. So it's a different kind of thing. And I'm cold because the young man said, listen, I'll make some up tonight, right? They used to talk.
So like you're up to date, man. You're up to date, man. So like you're up to date.
I'm a man who go in Trenchtown regular,
Yeah.
I used to go down there every year and when I had my security company, I'm fully trucked by 100-pounder flour and tin oil, big tin oil, and me and my children, and we go and give everybody a bag of this and let have some money and thing. I still go up there sometimes, 13th Street, 14th Street, them guys raise chicken and sit down and all of vibes. So I know what is happening.
Well, may I tell you something, Trinity? When me and you tell me hear the name Trinity, I'm afraid too. I mean, never did I do that.
Well, I tell you something, Muta. Sometimes I have been at the stage that I am now, at my age and thing, and I look back at some of the things that I do, and I say, boy, it's crazy, because sometimes I chasing some gunman, and believe me, without a single thought about what can happen to me. And that was what happened to me in Rima, chasing a man and him going in a room and I start kick off every door. And by the time I reach the 3rd floor, it's like a open fire. Yeah. And before I know it, 4 of my teeth them lick out and the man behind me get a shot in the belly and jump the 3-story floor down into the thing there. Down on the ground and thing. I had to, race and hold on upon him, put him in the Jeep and drive go Kingston Public where I pass out. So it's them kind of thing going, you know what is hurtful? Where I was shot, I was born only about 100 yards from there. You understand? So
Which part?
No, at 4th Street there, in Winter Garden.
Yeah.
I remember I born at 1630 Trenchstone. Right? And stuff. So that is the kind of situation. So these guys nowadays, as I say now, them man ain't water. When them man get high, first of all, them man drink White Rum straight because we used to know all the substance that them use to preserve dead. That's what the man them drink, right?
Embalming fluid.
Yeah, and them when them wrap the weed now, them wrap it in them use grabber. Yeah. And some of the grabber is soaking and redering and things. Yeah. So when the man draw that, and
them feel like them invincible.
We're not talking about the use of coke and all them things there, where they might use a season split. So some mad people are not taking the talk.
Them feel invincible, man.
No, a man sit down and drink, come in a bar and sit down, and him sit down and drink 2 rounds of liquor and just pop off, right? And before you know it, 4 man dead, including, and 5 man dead, including himself. Yeah. So that's the kind of thing where we're looking at a man kill a man and cut off him head.
Yes, and still have the feet.
And then the little pit in them have there run up and down with it. That's the kind of thing where we have, and we're talking about facts.
Yeah. All right, let me ask you something now. No, you see, we say, if you was the assistant, if you was the commissioner of police now, what would you do, or what would you suggest now to the present people them who is in charge for really a long-term stemming of this crime?
I'm going to answer your question, Muta, but if you know me, I always like set the pace to answer the question.
Okay.
First of all, I must establish my qualification to answer such a question. I was Assistant Commissioner of Police in charge of operations in the Commissioner's Office for Jamaica. I reported to a Deputy Commissioner, right? And on occasions, every man would go up and report what transpired the night before and thing. One time I go into the Commissioner's Office, that time Mr. Favs was Commissioner. And I asked him, I said, you send a detective to be in charge of a certain critical police area and thing. And boy, boss, he asked for my opinion. I tell you, I question that. Why? And the man reaching him, drawing him, right on top, draw out a list of every officer in the force and say, look at this. Which one would you send? And believe you me, Muta, I was quiet because man at that point. If to come back to your question now, if I were a commissioner of police, and let me tell you this, those days are long past. Those ambitions have died. I'm no longer interested in becoming commissioner. I'm just being vociferous because I, like other members of civil society, I'm fed up with what is happening, right? Were I to become commissioner, the first task would be to clean up the force. Too often, police commissioners come in and they tell you what their doctrine is, what their mission is, and they tell you about corruption and we're going to clean up the force, and how many police officers you see them dismissed. So the first challenge was to target those who we have intelligence on that are involved in criminal activities, present the evidence, because listen, there's a public interest aspect of policing, where you retire man in the public interest. And I've seen them retire deputy commissioner of police, superintendents of police, and that hasn't been done in the longest while. That kind of thing must be generated by the public service and by the police commissioner who forward the evidence to the Police Services Commission, who do not act so motor. I've said they don't act on their own motor. The Services Commission can't say, listen, I'm going to fire Keith Gardner from the force. No, it must be actuated by the commissioner who report that this man is involved in nefarious activities, and this is the evidence, that is the evidence, and I think that him should be retired in the public interest. The rule of natural justice applies. Them call you, them point out the things to you, and give you an opportunity to be heard, and make a determination. You're out. You have, of course, recourse, right? You can always apply to the Jamaica Privy Council, and the Constitution makes allowance for that and thing. And if they think that it was unfair and unjust, then they get back to work. But I think right now, too much friendship going on in this thing, and man covering up for man, and the time has come now, like, for men like me to talk.
Yeah.
I just want to present one example to you.
Yeah.
I was in Era 1 as Assistant Commissioner of Police for Trelawney, St. James, Hanover, and Westmoreland, right? And I got information that a certain police officer was corrupt to the bone. I took him off frontline duties and have him doing station guard at Era 1. And I went away. I went on leave for about 6 days. And as soon as I leave, they put back the man on frontline duty. You know what happened? Police from another jurisdiction set up a roadblock and hold him with 4 illegal guns. And there's evidence to suggest that he must take it to the stone crushers. Right? He's in prison now doing about 12 years and he should be doing 24. Right? So that is the sort of thing that we need to deal decisively with. All the senior police officers who have evidence that policemen are involved in criminal activities. And usually them don't just get up to them and say, I'm going to do it, you know. Somewhere along the line, they have displayed that those traits to dishonesty. For I've suggested that even at training school, you must start look out for them. Yeah. Right? And that is the gist of the matter.
All right. You know, Trinity, a former commissioner, I think it's Dr. Carl Williams, when he was demeting office, he said one of his greatest disappointment was that he couldn't get to clean up the police force more. And what we find out, since that day, we find that more people start to talk about the corruption in the police force. With the people that talk about it from a long time, because that is why the police, the information that the police need in a certain community, them can't get it because the people them don't trust the police. And the people them have been saying that over the years. Now we say, man like you and others are come out now and say, there is a problem with the corruption in the police force. So, why is it so difficult for, like the Minister of Security and the Prime Minister and the government, why is it so difficult for them to understand that one of the chief problems, the wall that is between trying to alleviate the problem and make the problem stay, is that the police force need to clean up? Why is it so difficult for them to understand that?
Muta.
Yes.
It's not just now I talking about police corruption and leaking out against it, you know. If you look at the Gardner archives, 1999, while I was at the KVL studying law, I wrote a damning article, you know, deal decisively under the caption, deal decisively with corruption. No. And that was over a decade and a half ago. Right? So it's not now. The last substantive post I held in the Jamaica Constable was the Assistant Commissioner in charge of disciplinary matters, right? So I deal with discipline. When a man is accused of murder, for example, and the file is sent on to DPP, and the DPP rule that the thing is not substantiated and thing should either be sent to coroners or whatever. Or in instances where policemen are reported to be involved in criminal activities, whether it's physical force that is undue against a citizen or not. The DPP might suggest that there's no criminal charge founded, this must be dealt with departmentally. The files are sent to me, right, and I draft the suggested charges and recommend to the commissioner that these charges be made against this constable or this officer, right? I have yet to see any of them going down. Of course, against sub-officers where court of inquiries and so on are sometimes instituted. Yeah. But in terms of officers going to service commission and being retired in the public interest for corrupt activity or for not doing malfeasance or misfeasance in office, I don't know of any that has been sent from the service. I remember one last one was Albert Richard, who was a superintendent of detective superintendent of police, and I'm going to call the other people because they're alive. That is what we want to see. We need to send a message. The commissioner's talking about them never get any chance to do that. That is a fallacy. Right? Send the report and send the men down to the service. You know what we're blaming the service commission? We don't give them the work to do, and then when you give them the work to do and they don't do it, they're criticized. Unless those charges are sent down to them and they're allowed to convene, because they are the ones who are responsible for appointing commissioners, for dealing with discipline in the police force and so on. If you don't give them the grounds on which to found the charges or inquire into the charges, why turn around and blame them? It creates a misunderstanding or lack of understanding of the role of the Services Commission.
All right. Indicom. You think that Indicom is an obstacle in the work where the policeman supposed to do?
Let me tell you something, Muta. As a crime fighter, and I was alone. When my best friend, my sidekick, started in 1976. Remember, I joined in 72. When I was when I was sent to commissioner's office and that Natura squad, I met my best friend and fearless crime fighter, Mr. Osborne, right? And we together did a lot of work. This man was never recognized. I mean, I've been given the Medal of Gallantry, Medal for Meritorious Service, and Mr. Osborne has not been acknowledged to this day by any government. The work that I have done, I've been given credit to. I could never have accomplished it without him. So I want to really shout him out and pay respect to him. Yes. But the point I'm making is that, things and times have changed, right? And whoever is going to be commissioner now, we have proven and demonstrated to the public that we lack the will to deal with this thing.
You're talking about the police force? You're talking about the police force?
Yes, yes, within the force. Everybody, the squad thing. But this man is my squad, and by the time I had 10 years in the service, all of my squad mates had gone, So I don't really have any squad. And I was never a popular man within the force because I was a disciplinarian. If you're an officer, you must take command of your division and do the things that are necessary. I was an avowed supporter of Mr. Aquila, and he's a good man. Nobody can doubt that. Nobody can say he's corrupt, right? But all I'm saying is that his Christian attitudes led him to read the Beatitudes, right? And not to be assertive in taking action. Nobody suggests, and those times are long gone.
Trinity. Yeah. Trinity, he's a poet, man.
No, once you can't go to
Christian attitude.
Bishop Houston and Douglas Forrest are not their point. I learned from people like you as well.
That's funny. Repeat that again. It's Christian attitude. Make him read the Beatitude.
Yes.
I was not able to.
Muta, you're too young to know about Bishop Lawrence. He was a corporal of police, but he traveled in Bible. Right? And police trench down here alone, in uniform. I when him catch you doing something wrong, at that time, ganja was mandatory. 18 months you can't smoking it. Him not going to lock you up. Him call you and read the scripture to you and make you say the Lord's Prayer. Sometimes on the knee. Nothing was more embarrassing than that. You understand?
That's funny.
But those times are long gone. We need God, yes. But as I often say, we're in a room. We're like saints in a room. Darkened room. I'll sit down there and pray till the sweat for God to send man of light from heaven. When all that was needed to be done was for one of us to reach up and just hit the switch and turn on the light. We need a commissioner to hit the switch. Right? Somebody who don't have any friend and in the squad with them can go to and say, well, to boss, I've sinned and give me a chance. Right? These are serious times that call for serious measures. And I don't see anybody. People might be upset with me. Yes, there are some younger men coming up, some men and women coming up who are equal to the task, but they are not yet ready. They are young. They are brilliant police officers. Yesterday, I listened to the swearing on of some police, 200-300 police officers, and listened to the diction of the officers from the training school, and I was shocked. They sound like academics, right? Very, very brilliant, very, very articulate. And I know that these people are up and coming, and I'm hoping for the day that they'll take charge. But right now, neither the first or second tier I'm seeing anybody that have the will to take on what is happening in here.
But I know say you stay far from the Ministry of Security.
No, listen. You see, from 1993, you know that I was Siaga's bodyguard for years and a half years, right? You see, from Colonel Macmillan called all the policemen what that is our labor rights and all those that is our PMP, because I'm smart, What he did was to send out to the GLP and say, give me a list of all the policemen who are political. And he sent to the PMP and asked them to give them all list of those who were political. So all the so-called GLP policemen and all the so-called PMP policemen were called down to Ellison Road at a gigantic meeting. And Colonel Macmillan said, listen, I believe in second chance. I don't know whether what is being said here is true, but I have a list of all of the policemen that they say are political. Some of you appear on two lists, right? On the two lists. It's either they are not political or perhaps they are freelancing, right? But you see, I was told that in 1993, you don't catch me going and getting involved in any kind of politics or associated with politicians. Not that they're not good, decent politicians, but I don't want my name to be associated. I'm a political orphan. I learned my lesson then, and from that on, I was a reformed police officer. Not that working with the Prime Minister for the 8.5 years. We were involved, but we were seen or perceived to be. You can't beat perception, okay?
I know you take sleep on my head.
Turnaround.
Well, all right, the last question I know. The so movement and the state of emergency. How you view them?
Yeah, but hold on. Muta. You don't let me answer the question they asked about
the minister, but you see a talk and you can't clear as you
no, in the
come like you move around.
No, I'm not moving around. Let me tell you something. You must have some checks and balances, right? Where social conscience is not within the organization, you must have a watchdog. And I remember for years, the only watchdog we had was Running Tweets and Public Eye. You understand? You must have somebody where you think about before and think of the consequences of your action before you engage in it. And the Jamaican human rights people were there, right? Flo O'Connor and others to keep us in check. When you have crime fighters, it's all good and people talk about death squads, But you kill a man, right? Who, is a murderer and maybe him shoot at you and whatever. But if you continue to do it, the first time it's very difficult, the next time it becomes easier, right? And it is easy to fall into that abyss. So when you start killing innocent people, what are you going to do to the witness? When you start kill criminal elements, or you start murder them, what are you going to do to the innocent man who's a witness, a bystander? You're going to kill him too? You set off a chain reaction. And that is why I believe there are some people who have demonstrated over time by their vicious and villainous action that they are not worthy to remain among us as civil members of the society. But it can't be, I don't believe in either state-sanctioned killings or in the death squad kind of thing. One point that is needed to be made, Muta, if you allow me to say it. You see, when we clean up our act, when we clean up our act in the Jamaica Constabulary Force and increase our capacity to investigate and present cases before the court and secure convictions, where are you going to put the prisoners? Because we're against building prisons.
Maybe we have to go back to Britain for building
prisons. 1976. What is going to happen? Where are you going to put them?
We have to call upon Britain for building the prison.
Well, all right, Muta. These are food for thoughts, because we have to think ahead. We have to think outside of the box. But you're asking my last question now. What to think about Zoso?
Zoso and the state of emergency.
I mean, severe circumstances call for severe measures. And I don't even want to say severe. You see, Muta, what is happening? We know that we know about the social contract, right? When as societies develop and we recognize the necessity for our family and our property to be protected, it was necessary to put the strong people in charge of protecting the village, to protecting the community, and so on. And a price had to be paid. Those of us who in those ancient times used to go in the fields and gather or plant or hunt saw the necessity to protect them against marauders, right? People who invaded and took away the women and children. And there was a cost to pay for that. So those of us who went into the field left something for the ones who remain at home as payment. And as we develop now, we know that we have to give up certain social rights, right? To have policing in order to secure. That is the price we pay to pay for our democracy or freedom. So now, with all the murders, that couldn't be allowed to continue unabated. So the little inconvenience that many of us face, right? Curtailment of our rights, freedom of movement, freedom of association and all that. Muta. The sooner we get the thing together, with everybody jumping on board and supporting instead of some staying one side and criticizing, the sooner this thing get done, Muta.
Better. Well, give thanks, I mean.
It's a pleasure talking to you, bro.
I know a whole heap of people, but I can tell you something. A whole heap of people listen to you and say, we never know the Trinity is still alive.
Trinity alive, well. And when I'm gone, long after I'm gone, the legend will remain.
All right, of course. I mean, I tell you,
I'm always a fear, man. And listen to me, I have not gone around and fracture relationship between decent people. My target was always dangerous and vicious gunmen. People might talk about, this one take this life and take that life. It's 5 different times I go near death.
Where you get the word Trinity? Where you get the name Trinity from? Trinity are 3 different places one time.
No, I know why already. That comes from the spaghetti movie. It points my death. People used to say that I'm a marksman. I don't know how true that is, but it comes from that.
All right, give thanks.
Yeah, give thanks. Thank you for having me, brother.
Yeah, man, I did. Yeah, that was Keith Gardner, man. Alias Trinity, Assistant Commissioner of the Police, retired attorney of law, Director of Security for the University of the West Indies, giving his really experience and views about things and times and where going on so now as it relates to the traumatic experience that Jamaica got through.
The informative information presented in this video is motivational and is positively aimed at inspiring, educating and entertaining the viewers with the cutting edge of critical reasoning. If you enjoy the contents on the Black Radar YouTube channel, please consider subscribing to show your support.
This is Mutabaruka. We want to present to you a wholesome kind of level of consciousness right now. So subscribe and tell your friend them. This is Mutabaruka.
On the line here we have Mark Sheilds, former Commissioner of Police. Good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
Yes, sir. I'm really glad that you decided that you do this interview. Now,
it's my pleasure.
We understand what is going on in the country. The first question I want to ask you, what is it that you feel is the biggest hindrance to the movement of the police and the government against crime in Jamaica?
The biggest hindrance?
Yes.
Well, you know what, man? You could speak for and write for hours on that, because it really is a thing that you need to break down into sections. And the hindrance takes all shapes and forms. I think first and foremost, the Jamaica Constabulary Force themselves, they have a few very good people, very professional, very dedicated to what they do, but they still have an internal problem of corruption, point one, and point two, there is still a critical mass of people within the organisation who do not wish to change, who police as if it's still 1970 or 1980, and despite giving every single aid, assurance, assistance, we're still stuck where we were before. And I've noticed that on some different levels, which I could expand on. Secondly, the government, at the moment, I think there is a new will to make things happen. Whether or not the zones of special operation work, we will have to see. The state of emergency in St James is another positive move, although it is perhaps disappointing that it didn't happen 2 years ago. So there are things that are beginning to happen. If you look at the murder rate in St James since the state of emergency, without trying to put anything on it, it has certainly reduced. And now we have to look at ways in which we can continue to chase those criminals off the streets, not just from St James, but everywhere else. And you'll find that criminals that were in St James are now being displaced to Hanover, Westmoreland and Clarendon and elsewhere. So we need to keep them in fear of us, rather than the public, the people of Jamaica, the good people of Jamaica being in fear of the criminals. And I think we can do that. So in answer to your question, it's very broad. We also have to look at ourselves. We have to look at our own behaviour. You and I both drive on the streets of Jamaica and we see the recklessness, we see the lawlessness all of the time. People jumping red lights, going the wrong way up roads, doing everything that they can not to obey the law. And we somehow have to create a society like it is in other places where people do as they're told, people obey laws, because my strong belief is that if you can take control of the streets and have some sense of order, then there's less likelihood to be the serious lawlessness that we see in places in Jamaica.
The reoccurring argument about corruption in the police force. Remember, Dr. Carl Williams mentioned his disappointment in not being able to curb that. We just spoke to a former assistant commissioner, Trinity Keith Gardner, and he mentioned the corruption. And now we hear you hint at it too. It would appear to me that it has been there forever. When you were the commissioner of police, was it dear to the point where now that we hear everybody talking about it, or is just something just starting to happen now? Because we hear a lot of police getting old for different...
I don't think there was sufficient, and it's with respect to all of my colleagues, I do not think that there was sufficient will and courage to move against some of these corrupt individuals. But in defence of them, I do not think that the way that the rules within the Jamaica Constabulary Act are set up, that it's very easy to get rid of people. What I can tell you is that when I was Deputy Commissioner of Police, I saw the intelligence. I read about some of the extremely bad cops
that were within the organisation that I actually had to work with. But the problem that you have is moving from having the intelligence to constructing a proper investigation, prosecution, and subsequent conviction is a huge amount of work. And quite often these people are very sophisticated and extremely difficult to catch. So I would prefer a system whereby if we have the intelligence, that the government and legislators would allow us to have a system whereby we could retire people in the public interest. Because sometimes I'd rather just not have them in the force and even pay some money to get rid of them, clean up the force, because in that way we can move forward. Whilst they stay, we have no chance of actually securing the trust and confidence of the people.
All right, we say that Indicom is coming under fire by the two main, the opposition leader and the Prime Minister. What you think is the role of Indicom in all of this, given that they were there to really deal with certain human rights against the citizens by the police, but now we see that they are also coming under fire by the two main gentlemen them in Jamaica?
Well, first of all, you and I were talking about corruption, and if we just stick with corruption for a minute, we've now got MOTA, the Major Organised Crime and Anti-Corruption Agency, which, as you know, Parliament has just passed that it will be a completely separate, independent organisation to the police, to the Jamaica Constabulary Force, and they will be targeting corruption, which is what you and I were talking about. Yeah. So that's one thing, and I think that's an extremely positive move that this government has managed to get that legislation through. In relation to Indicom itself, I do not understand the concerns about whether it's politicians or certain police officers. I do not understand it. There is there is legislation in place for Indicom, and there are rules upon which they can be engaged. In fact, if you look at the front page of the Gleaner today, and I think the Observer, where the Honourable Peter Phillips, the opposition leader, said that Indicom were taking guns off police officers on the street just after shootings, you also saw that Terence Williams said that's absolutely not the case, that there is a procedure, that Indicom themselves don't take weapons from police anyway, it's the police that do that, and secondly, they're taken to a police station where it is done discreetly. So there can be this misinformation from various quarters at times, which I think is unhelpful. The reality is that every single civilized country has an organisation like Indicom that is there to independently investigate the police. That's what you have. And we need to face the fact that Indicom is not going to go away, that the law is there, and it's there to protect the civilians, and it's also there to protect the innocent police officers, because I think it was Minister Montague who said just a few days ago, of all of those investigations conducted by Indicom, a very small percentage actually ended up with prosecutions. But you still have to go through the process of investigation, because if you don't have investigation, then you can get miscarriages of justice.
So what do you think is the Prime Minister mentioned balance. What is your interpretation of the Prime Minister talking about the need some balance in Indicom?
I didn't hear exactly what the Prime Minister said, but my view on balance is very simply this. Indicom are bound by certain rules and regulations that are set down in law in terms of how they can proceed. I do not have any knowledge or evidence of Indicom breaking that breach or breaching that in any shape or form. If they have, then those matters would be investigated. I do not think that it's on one side or the other. I just think that there is a general resistance, that this attitude that some police officers are literally laying down their weapons because they're concerned about Indicom. I would say, police officer, you have nothing to be frightened of. If you do your job and you use sufficient force that is relevant to that particular occasion, and if you defend yourself and you defend your citizens, then you have no fear from anybody at all. But on the other hand, if you think that you can go out there and target people who you think are criminals and kill them and plant firearms on them, I have absolutely no sympathy for you at all. That's how I would say it.
If you were the Commissioner of Police today, what would...
Deputy Commissioner, yes.
No, today. If you were the Commissioner of Police today,
yes,
what would be your first move now, given the situation that we find ourselves in Jamaica?
Well, there's quite a few things I would do if I was Commissioner of Police, but I think the first thing I would do immediately is to look at the strength of the Jamaica Constabulary Force, and I would get anybody at all that was behind a desk, that was fit to be on the streets, and I would get as many people on the streets as possible. Everything that's happening in St James that is successful at the moment, and the things that have happened that are successful in the zones of special operations, is because there is high visibility policing,
yes,
and there's a presence of soldiers. So the first thing I would do is to review the strength of the Jamaica Constabulary Force, and I would order every single person who sits behind a desk conducting an administrative role to get on the streets and to be visible. I don't care if they're not the greatest police officers in the world, but I need them on the streets. I need to ensure that when you and I drive home and we go through, say, Halfway Tree, that we're not going to jump the lights, we're not going to cut up the right-hand lane, we're not going to do all those other bad things, because there's going to be a police officer everywhere to control the streets. We need to take control of the streets. We need to make citizens feel safe and secure. That's the first thing that I would do. Secondly, I would have absolute zero tolerance to anything to do with traffic infractions, people dropping garbage on the streets, men urinating on fences at the side of the streets, any of those small crimes that are being committed that everyone turns a blind eye to. Motorcyclists riding without crash helmets, you name it. If you're on the streets and you commit an offence, you will get a ticket or you will be arrested. So that would be my second thing. And the third thing is that I would establish permanent checkpoints, police checkpoints around major cities, with proper concrete structures, with CCTV, with license plate reading systems upon them, so that criminals fear going to any city because they know they're going to be watched. So they're just 3 or 4 things. I could go on if you have more time.
Yeah. No, we have time. You can't talk. We have time.
Well, next, if you really want to know, in the first month, I would interview every single senior officer in the force, and I would decide for myself, based on the intelligence and based on my interview, whether or not I think they are fit for purpose. And I would make some tough decisions, and I would focus on building a strong, trustworthy, reliable top team. And I would get rid of anyone that I did not feel would fit that bill, and I would either give them a project to do, or if I could, get rid of them in the public interest.
And then,
I would then, with that, identify the top 10 high potential officers, and I would ensure that they go off to Canada, the United Kingdom, and the United States for extended periods of secondment in order that they could learn the strategic skills that are required to run a modern police service.
Yeah.
And I would bring them back and hope that at least 1 or 2 of them would be the natural successors to be the next internal commissioner of police.
all right, we have a fork in the road here, and given where we are now, I mean, take yourself out of it as being a commissioner. We need a commissioner now. You give credence to the idea that we should seek for the commissioner outside of Jamaica?
Well, no, there's a big difference. Outside Jamaica or outside the Jamaica Constabulary Force? Which are you talking about?
Outside of Jamaica. If you could, like, you came here and you had Mr. Green from England who was here a couple of years ago. You think that Jamaica right now reach a stage now where we need to get someone more experience, more understanding of crime fighting in a volatile situation? Like, for instance, England. Can you remember that them did the ban handgun in England?
Yes.
Yeah, but now we see people are use knife killing. Every day when I'm a brethren call me and say, boy, I appear knife killing are going on in England. But I think we can handle knife quicker than gun. But
it does.
Yeah, you think it is necessary, or you give credence to the idea that why Jamaica, it look like every time we get a commissioner it's not working, we need to get somebody outside. What do you think about
that? Let me put it this way. I'm going to give you an analogy with Grace Kennedy. Grace Kennedy is a well-respected Jamaica-grown company. Okay? You accept that?
Yes.
Grace Kennedy is a well-respected company. Grace Kennedy has grown exponentially over the years to become an internationally recognized company, and they export their goods to the United Kingdom and the United States. And they also have a lot of services. Now, you're going to be thinking, where's Mark Sheilds going with this? This is where I'm going with it. The reason for the success of Grace Kennedy is because they have been able to recruit people from outside Grace Kennedy. If everybody joined Grace Kennedy at 18, 19, 20 years old, and the only way you could be in Grace Kennedy is if you started on the shop floor and worked your way up to become the CEO, I can guarantee that Grace Kennedy would not be the great company it is. Like any company that is successful, it draws on people from other areas, whether they're Jamaican from within Jamaica, or whether they're from outside that country. That's why Digicel is successful. That's why Grace Kennedy and many other companies are successful because of that. If you have an organisation like the JCF that only ever recruits people from within inside the JCF, it is a recipe for disaster. I regret that after Les Green left and after I left, that for whatever reason, they stopped the whole notion of international police officers. They stopped so many things. They stopped the Major Investigation Task Force. They have not done as much with intelligence. There are so many things that we actually start here that are quite good, and then after a couple of years we give it up. So the answer to your question is yes, I would take not only a commissioner, but deputy commissioners and assistant commissioners from elsewhere. But at the same time, as I said in my plan, I would be training local Jamaican senior officers to go and work abroad to gain the experience. In the same way that if you work for Grace Kennedy, you can leave and go and work in New York or Miami for a few years and then come back with all that experience back to Grace Kennedy and make the organisation great. So that's my analogy. I don't know what you think about that idea.
I think it's important. I had a suggestion, and I suggested continuously in this program that the Ministry of Security and should really send or carry a group of police, soldiers, whatsoever, and carry them to countries that has had worse crime than Jamaica and has gotten out of it. You know, there are many countries. I mean, all right, even think about New York itself. There was that time when people afraid for what in New York City with almost 10 million people. And we see right now 300 murder for 1 year is like for 10 million people. That is really something else.
Yeah, exactly.
And I am feeling that what should take place is that countries that we see that had a high crime rate, for whatever reason or not, these are the countries that these police, soldiers, and the military should go to and really get a good hands-on understanding of what is it that was done to alleviate that problem and carry it back to Jamaica. I don't know. I mean,
and it isn't, but you know what? It's not just about the crime fighting side, because you and I are talking mainly about crime fighting, but it's actually about going to NYPD or the Met Police in London and looking at how they run the organisation. How do you make strategic plans and how do you make strategic decisions? How do you manage a large public sector organisation? Because all of that's very important as well. And when you look at the Jamaican Constabulary Force and the way it's managed, it hasn't changed for so many years. And it's those things. And so if you can't bring people in all of the time because the local force is not prepared to listen or think they know best, then send them away. Send them to New York, Toronto and London in order that they can gather those excellent skills and bring them back and preach to the people here for them.
Well, Mr. Sheilds, I give thanks for you talking to me, and I realize that you decide that this is your home now, and you're quite okay, and so I really say that it don't jolt you a bit, like you want to run with like some away. So, yeah, man, give thanks.
Thank you, man. Thank you for inviting me onto your show. Thank you.
Yes. Yeah, that was Mark Shield, former Commissioner of Police, giving his view.
The informative information presented in this video is motivational and is positively aimed at inspiring, educating and entertaining the viewers with the cutting edge of critical reasoning. If you enjoy the contents on the Black Radar YouTube channel, please consider subscribing to show your support.